There are many great sports programs for young people in New York City, none better than ice hockey in Harlem, which started in the late 80s and is still going strong. We are joined tonight by two people connected to ice hockey in Harlem. Alvin Dow has been in ice hockey in Harlem for quite some time. He's now a senior at Humanities Prep Academy and has been in the program for quite some time. And Pat Hickey, the former Ranger, is one of the people who helped start ice hockey in Harlem way back when, a few thousand years ago. Welcome to NY-1. Alvin, let's start with, in the present tense. When did you start with ice hockey in Harlem, and where are you with the program right now?
So I started when I was about 5 years old. I told my mom I wanted to play hockey. She thought it was crazy. But we looked for a program, and we saw ice hockey in Harlem was probably the closest to home. And we enrolled in it, and ever since I touched the ice, it was, I loved it. So it was, ice hockey in Harlem has always been there for me, on and off the ice.
How so, on and off the ice?
On the ice, of course, practice and everything, and off the ice with our academic program. They have classes about every Tuesday, teaching the game of hockey, like the dimensions of the rink, location of teams, and stuff like that. So stuff like that made me love the game of hockey today, and it made me grow into the person I am today. And now, since I'm playing junior hockey in Brooklyn for the Metro Fighting Moose, like, I can really go back and thank ice hockey in Harlem for that. So,
Pat, when you first started up with it, you guys, players and former players, I would imagine, get hit up or asked to contribute to this charity or do this or do that all the time. What intrigued you about ice hockey in Harlem early on?
Well, actually, it didn't exist when I was doing it, and you're right. I was involved with 21 different charities, March of Dimes and the whole bit, and I was on Wall Street looking to prepare for my second career, and a fellow said to me, I asked him, how do you say no to all these charities? And when I retired from hockey, he says, start your own. So that's what I did with the Seagrams Corporation, and with, I read an article on Donald Trump one Sunday morning in the Times that he took over the 2 rinks in Central Park, and that's when it dawned. I said, I'm going to have a hockey program. I'm going to do my prospecting sales to Donald Trump and get free ice. And we did that for 10 years. And that's what happened. I wrote CCM. Seagrams was great there with the Upward Fund and the 13 after-school programs. I suggested, let's have a 14th program, and they said, you're nuts, but sure, let's do it, right? And I wrote to the equipment companies and got it, and so that's where it began. The academics was always important to my father.
Right.
Made sure that we added that in there, reading, writing, and arithmetic through the standings of the NHL.
I recall that the classes started in the fall of '87, and the first night on the ice we actually have footage of, because I was working for Channel 9 at that point, and we went out on the ice the first time, and it's great. Here we are, Lasker Rink. I think you're going to see a slightly younger Pat Hickey here at some point, skating backwards rather beautifully. Do you recall, if not the first night, but those first nights when...
I can tell you a story about that first night, and this is a true story. We just got the 60 pairs of skates that day, and when a new pair of skates has resin on it, they need to be sharpened. And when I was tying up the skates for the boys here, I said, these guys don't have a chance, because there's that resin on the bottom of the blade. So we started to do a lot of things, just standing still on balance and basketball and all of that type of thing. But that's great. I haven't seen that footage for a long time. Got the same hairdo.
There you go. That's pretty good. Not all your contemporaries can say that. Alvin, do you remember the first year? You said you were 5 when you hit the ice? Hopefully not literally.
But actually, yes. I remember the first time I stepped foot on the ice with hockey equipment on. I remember going out there, as soon as I took one step, I dropped. And I looked at my mom, and she looked at me, and I realized at that moment on, I wanted to impress her. And I got back up and kept going. And I just kept trying to skate, and sooner or later, I ended up getting it. And that's when I really started to fall in love and wanted to know that this is what I wanted to do. And this is where I wanted to do it. So.
But that was always one of my lessons, because that's the most fun in hockey, is falling down and getting up and figuring it out. And you got it the first night.
Ever any moments through the early years when you had any doubt, like, should I really be doing this, or is this going to work out, or should I stick with this? Or
to be honest, no. I always thought that this is what I wanted to do, and I didn't want anyone or anything to get in the way of me wanting to do this. So I always had that push from my mom, always, to go out and get what I wanted. So, and she was the first step, and ice hockey in Harlem was the second step. And putting the two together just made it perfect.
Now we have more footage a few years later from 1993, and one of the kids in the first piece of footage, Ramon Padilla, who I don't know, was like 7 in the first piece of footage, and in this footage, some of these people who had been there the first night, all of a sudden they're skating around. They're skating around like Paul Coffey at this point.
A good skate sharpening can do that.
There you go. See, here it was all about the skate sharpening. Is there a particular point, Pat, for you when you realize, all right, this is taken and this is happening and it's not going anywhere?
Well, I think I got a phone call in August on some muggy day in New York City. Seagram's Corporation invited all the volunteers up to their offices to thank us and reward us. And you know, my story is true. We were in the washroom washing our hands before lunch, and Mr. Silverstein said to me, "Hickey, it's guys like you that I just hate." And I said, "Why?" Like, I thought you were here to thank us. Yeah. And he said, "Because you come into Harlem, and you got to remember, Seagram's Corporation was doing this for 30 years in Harlem, and the other 13 after-school programs, and you pick the children up to here, and then you just walk away and let them go." And he walked out the door. And when I walked into the lunchroom, I just said, "Am I going to have the mic here?" And I got the mic at lunch, and accepting thank yous on behalf of all the volunteers, but I also committed that Ice Hockey in Harlem program would last as long as I could viably help it out and make it last. So that's when I knew it was going to work, and that's when I went and asked my hometown buddy Wayne Gretzky, "Would you come into Harlem with the LA Kings and help me make it last forever?" And here we are 30 years later, and I'm very proud.
And he came within the first year. That was in the December of '88. The Kings, Gretzky's playing for the Kings, along with Tonelli and Duguay, and they come on a Sunday morning after playing, I think, the Islanders on a Saturday night, and it's like 9:30 in the morning, and they're at Lasker Rink giving a clinic.
January 11th, and it was like about the same temperature out there as it is today, so they had a lot of
That's right.
honor showing
Gretzky,
up in the cold.
Gretzky, years later, I remember I mentioned it to him, and he said, "Yeah, that was cold." And I thought, here's a guy who played in Edmonton. He thought that day was cold. What's up for you now? Where are you heading? You're in senior this year?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Right now, I've been accepted to 3 schools, Canisius College, Quinnipiac University, and the University of Maine. So I'm very happy about that.
You can play hockey there?
Yes, I'm hoping to play hockey for one of those schools. So all of this, I can really say thank you to Ice Hockey in Harlem for it.
The story's about Ice Hockey in Harlem, but I'd be remiss if we don't get one old Ranger story in before you go. I did not know. Now, I know a decent amount about the teams.
Yeah. More
than a decent amount. I had forgotten that your first game at the Garden is the night that Eddie Giacomin comes back.
Oh, yeah. I started that game, and I saw him crying on the blue line, and I saw about 3/4 of the crowd at Madison Square Garden crying, too. And I said...
is your first game as a Ranger or first game at the Garden?
No, first game as a Ranger at the Garden.
Okay.
Yeah, is that season.
Right.
Training camp was an upheaval. I think later it was when the Grittel and Esposito trade, but this was the first time when Eddie came back as a Detroit Red Wing uniform, and everybody was crying, and I was just there to play hockey and loving every minute. I took advantage. I think I got a goal and an assist that.
Yeah, and you got a goal, and when the Rangers scored that night, because Giacomin was so popular, you
actually got booed. So I said, you know, like, bring it on. As long as they're making noise, that's okay.
That's right.
I got booed when I started Ice Hockey in Harlem too by a lot of people, but we shoved it down their throat, as they say. And
did you deal with resistance?
Sure. Yeah, no. I invited the New York Rangers to come in to Central Park on some cold Sunday morning with Phil Esposito and the guys, and they just never ever responded. So I took it upon myself and asked my friend and Wayne and Robbie Fatorik and the LA Kings to do it with Dr. Bruce McNall there, and they were innovative and authentic, and they loved the idea. And I still look at it now, and I've talked to Gary Bettman about it, is that was the beginning of these Winter Classic games that are making a lot of revenue. So I'm just very dedicated to Ice Hockey in Harlem here, so I hope everybody has an opportunity to give and to show up tomorrow. We're having a celebration and an auction to raise some money.
Celebration is where?
It's at the Hudson Terrace, 46th Street between 11th and 12th, from what I understand. Ice Hockey in Harlem, that's www.icehockeyinharlem. You can find out all the information. I got my 1979 teammates coming, Ron Duguay, Steve Vickers, David Farish, Dave Maloney is going to attend, and some other alumni.
what Pat is not saying is that he's getting honored tomorrow night by Ice Hockey in Harlem, and rightfully so, for all the years of work that he's done for Ice Hockey in Harlem. Alvin, congratulations. Good luck next year.
Thank you.
And thanks for both of you for coming in tonight.
Hey, thanks for having us. This is great. We'll have a good day.